Here we are. As usual, I'm excited to get this conversation rolling. And I think today I get to say aloha, right?
Aloha. Yes.
Aloha.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Lailan. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving your time and your attention to us and the listeners today. Share a little bit of your unique experience in this beautiful land that you are at and what unique opportunities that presents. So welcome to the show, Lailan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Lailan Bento. I'm born and raised right here in Hawaii. I am a native Hawaiian and I own a real estate company. We also do, which is fun, we are starting affordable housing development that's going to be sustainable development, something our state and probably many other states in the US have not seen. It's not just building homes people can afford to live in, but also businesses they can use, medical facilities, all of that. So that's where I'm going right now, owning that company and trying to have the largest affordable housing development in the state, and going to be trying to use that as a showcase for the other islands to follow suit of, we can really do this in Hawaii, which is such a popular state, right? In paradise with the cost of living. I went into selling real estate and helping with nonprofits, helping my community growing up here. Being a native Hawaiian, when you're born here, there is something that is instilled in you, which many people don't know, and that is you have to have, there is a kuleana. A kuleana is a responsibility to give back to your community, to teach the next generation and how to take care of this place that everybody loves so much, which is our aina, our land, which is called Hawaii. So that's what, besides selling real estate, I take those profits and I'm working on a nonprofit to educate. And I've also created a scholarship fund to help educate Hawaiian kids with higher education, private schooling, for them to be able to be educated, because higher education is far and none on the outer islands, especially in this state.
When you started selling real estate, did that start kind of maybe in the lower end, or did you start in the higher end? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
I started on both higher end and lower end. So the thing that's unique about my company is we are going to be launching, it is a luxury development where you can vacation rent. And what a lot of people don't understand, especially investors, not everywhere, most places in Hawaii, you cannot do short-term or transient rentals. It's only a certain type of zoning, certain type of area. So I do get those calls all the time, and people will see an extremely cheap piece of property and you can vacation rent there. Most residential homes you cannot vacation rent. Our counties, every county is different, every island is different, but they're trying to, especially since Lahaina also, trying to stop that and just have you vacation rent in the proper resort zoning areas, which I can understand because that takes housing away from the local community, right? If you're just having an empty home in a regular neighborhood and you're vacation renting, where a family that is a nurse and a teacher could live there. So I did start on affordable and then high end. That's what my company does.
I just want to dive back to this rent thing, because as a investor, as a landlord, we look at income to rent. And
right.
When we look at income to rent, it's basically like a lot of the accepted ratios that I see a lot of investors use is that 3-to-1. So my income has to be 3-to-1
Yep.
of my rent. So if I take that 65,000 and divide it by 12, and then I divide it by 3 to get that 3x, what's going to happen is going to give us let's see if I've got this right here, a number as a landlord that 65,000, you need to make that in order for me to rent you an $1,800 house.
Right.
And you're telling me the average rent is $2,900, the affordable, air quote,
yep.
For the listeners, is $2,900. There's a huge gap there.
Yep. Yeah.
So if the government is allowing or grants, I don't know how all of that stuff works, but if they're giving grants to make sure they get affordable housing, but yet they're putting affordable housing at a price point where it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
How are the renters going to afford that? Because as a landlord, I'm not going to give somebody the ability to rent a house if they can't afford it.
Right. They're working, like I was saying, 2 or 3 jobs, right? So that income is going to be tripled just to afford to be able to rent. The difference with Hawaii, and what I explain to investors, that's why they like to do short-term renting, because you can't make a lot more, right? And Hawaii, I've had investors that have sold fact, I have a couple of them on the mainland. Hawaii doesn't have seasons. It's booked all year long, right?
Wow.
We don't have seasons at all. It's not high season, low season, where it may be in the mainland, not here. And then our appreciation is the best in the country. So you might just be making 3 to 5% because the property is expensive, property taxes, high HOAs, but your appreciation value is much more higher than you're going to get on the mainland. I mean, I've seen it out here in the resort area. It's insane. You know, people are making a couple $100,000 year over year, and if they sold, right? The equity is just, and that's because there's not new housing being built. So it just keeps appreciating.
As an investor, I have my homestead, and I may have properties other places. And guess what? I don't get to do in those places where I own real estate.
Do what you want to do.
I don't get to vote.
Oh, yeah.
I only get to vote where my homestead is. So that's challenging too, which I can appreciate that, Lailan, because you just think of how many people would be sucking up real estate in order to buy votes. You know, that's just nasty sounding.
And, you know, and the sad thing is that I told our county council this, you know, you have over half of them, they're increasing property taxes.
The taxes are so far behind and it hasn't been repossessed. Do you have any, or foreclosed on, not repossessed, but do you have any experience with the tax policies when it comes to being foreclosed or not being foreclosed?
I know if it's a tax sale before, because Hawaii is a non-judicial state. So I know before, when, you know, we had the recession, there was a couple of attorneys that found the loophole and were actually somehow giving the people that lost their homes back their homes or getting them paid for it, even though they hadn't paid in years, right?
Yeah.
A couple of things I know before in tax sales, it depends. Now I think the insurance companies are opening up again, but it's a case-by-case basis. They will not give in Hawaii recently, and if it's a tax sale, title insurance, right? So you can't get financing, and it really makes the property not really valuable unless you find a cash buyer that's willing to take on a home that doesn't have tax title insurance. And then in Hawaii with taxes, our taxes don't pay into our school system. Our property taxes go to the county, and the state general fund pays into the Department of Education. So that's why our taxes are a little bit lower, you'll see, with property taxes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And as far as rentals go, what type of returns have you seen that investors would shoot for? I mean, with this huge gap in property value versus income, you know, versus rent, where, I mean, could you even come close? Is anybody even concerned with the 1% rule if we're looking at that much appreciation?
Out here, so what you're going to do is you're going to pay more to get a higher cap rate. Out here in the resort area, we call it the Kohala Coast or the Gold Coast. You're going to pay a premium for it. That's where your appreciation is going to go up the most. That's because it's clean, gated restaurants, white sand beaches. You're going to be able to vacation rent. And then if you decide to sell it. So out here, you're looking at a cap of 3 to 6%. I am launching a development that you're going to get a 6% cap, which is phenomenal for out here. Yeah.
What was the name of that
share
coast?
That development too. That development is going to be 310 more homes, 70 condos out here in the resort area.
So your development projects then, are even the affordable housing projects that you work on, affordable neighborhood projects that you're working on, are those build to sell, or do you do anything build to rent?
We're going to do both. So build to rent and then also build to sell. And hopefully our goal is the people that start off renting, that they're able to buy right into a home, because that's how you want them to progress in life, instead of just, because a lot of times you're just going to see families that just have been renting for 20, 30 years, right? To try and find something, they have a really good deal renting. And
And then what about Section 8 out there? Do you have any knowledge or experience with that program?
Section 8, there are a couple of developments. There's actually a couple of new ones that are doing Section 8 housing. There's been private corporations and then the government that stepped in to do Section 8 housing. And I was just speaking to the head of housing for the county. They have a ton of applicants. I mean, people are looking for just housing, right? That qualify for Section 8.